This video will talk about the effective error correction in an ESL or EFL class. We tell our students that making mistakes is nothing to be afraid of and that it will help them learn. But for this to be true, we as teachers need to know how to use students' errors in the best way to advance their learning. This means that we as teachers have to make the right decision on whether to correct and when to correct the errors that students have made. This is based on the fact that not all the errors need to be corrected all the time and that some errors should and can be corrected on the spot, while others benefit more from delayed correction. After all, we don't want to discourage or overwhelm our students. And at the same time, we want our correction to be effective, noted, and remembered. Now, making the decision of what and when to correct can be a bit tricky, but this video will give you a series of questions to ask yourself, and the answers will lead you to the right decision. So, imagine yourself in the classroom and one of your students says something that is not correct. This is the moment to ask yourself the first question. Is this a competence or a performance error? In other words, is this something that the student should know considering his or her level, performance, or is it something that is above their level, competence? If it is a competence error, it makes little sense to correct immediately because students need to learn it, so you ignore it for now. Maybe your next lesson can focus on that particular area. If it is a performance error, meaning that the student should know the area in which they made an error, then you ask yourself the second question. The second question that we should ask ourselves is it an error with target language? In other words, is the student making an error with the area they are learning in that class or not? For example, if you are teaching past simple, that is the target language for that lesson. And if your student says, "He lived in Austria," she made a mistake with present simple, and this error is not a target language error. So if the answer is no, the error does not concern the target language, then there is no need to correct it on the spot. You can leave it for the end of that activity or that lesson. However, if the answer is yes, the error is a target language error, then it is time for the next and last question. The final question that we should ask ourselves is, can the correction take place without disrupting the essential flow of the lesson or activity? If the answer is yes, it will disrupt the flow, meaning if students are deep into discussion and what they are saying matters more than how they are saying it, and your correcting will stop the discussion, frustrate students, or take them away from their tasks, then you don't want to correct immediately. Write it on the piece of paper and correct it after the activity or at the end of the lesson. If, on the other hand, the answer is no, the correction will not disrupt the flow of the class or activity, then and only then is the time to correct on the spot. So take a few seconds and try to remember, when a student makes an error in class, what are the 3 questions that we have to ask ourselves? Question 1, is this a competence or a performance error? Question 2, is it an error with target language? Question 3, can the correction take place without disrupting the essential flow of the lesson or activity? But be careful, on-the-spot correction needs to be as fast and effective as possible to allow the lesson to continue.